And hello and welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, thanks so much for being here. I hope you enjoy the show. We're going to highlight the Saybrook Stage Company, which is thankfully has been here before, which is always a pleasure. They're based in Old Saybrook, Connecticut, and Terry Carigliano, the founder, producer, and actor, is my guest, as well as Autumn Eliza Sheffy, who is also an actor, and I'm thrilled to have them both here today. And Terry, Autumn, thank you so much for being here. What a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
And Terry, a repeat guest,
yes.
So I want to thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you for having us. It's our pleasure.
And what I'd like to do for the audience, even though they have seen you before, is to take them into your background. So why don't we talk a little bit about yourself and what you're all about?
Sure. Well, my personal background is I have about 30 plus years of teaching and education, and I'm a lawyer by trade, went to law school, but years ago gave it up to raise my 3 children, and then I taught from all levels of education, from actually kindergarten all the way up to through college. I spent most of my time teaching at Mercy High School in Middletown for 10 years, and then at Quinnipiac for about 12 years. But I just kind of stepped back a little bit from Quinnipiac and retired to focus on some projects, and certainly the Saybrook Stage Company, just prior to COVID, so good timing, I guess.
Why don't we talk about the Saybrook Stage Company? I mean, you're talking about, as a lawyer, talking at education. Where on earth did the theater company come into play?
Well, interestingly enough, there's a scene in the play that deals with Cinderella, and I played Cinderella in kindergarten, believe it or not, and I was actually Cinderella in the first grade's production of Cinderella. So I wasn't not really that popular, but anyway, it was a lot of fun, and I really have been acting since then. I love the stage. I love the excitement of it, the creativity of it. So
Autumn, why don't we turn the microphone over to you, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, enlighten the viewer.
Yeah, I actually really have only been doing acting my whole life. Both of my parents are directors and actors and musicians, and I kind of fell into it because everyone else in my family was doing it. I'm the youngest of 7, and no one else chose to follow the career path but myself. So my parents are definitely excited, but it is, I think, nervous for any parent to watch your child go through the arts, because it's so, what do you know? You don't know what's going to come out of it. Mm-hmm. But interesting enough, Terry and I have a lawyer similarity, because my dad's a lawyer and I work as a paralegal as well. So we had a lot of connections of the background.
Right.
Did you think growing up that you would always be a performer?
I hope so. Yeah, I absolutely paved my way through that. I was a dancer and then took voice lessons, and then I graduated from the Boston Conservatory with a musical theater and a directing degree right before COVID, thank God.
What did you want to do with your degree?
Honestly, I would love to just keep performing if I can. I think ultimately it will probably lend itself to education and teaching, maybe doing voice lessons, giving back to children in the way that I feel like theater led me from when I was a child. But really, I would just love to perform, maybe direct. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, what has brought us together, of course, is your theater company and both of you as performers, but there is a play coming up. So why don't we talk about that? Why don't you tell us what it's all about?
There is, the play is All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. It was based on Robert Fulgram's book from the early 90s, late 80s, and it is basically a series of vignettes taken from all these stories in Fulgram's books, and it was big when I was growing up, and I was an adult, but I remember seeing this kindergarten creed, which is part of one of the scenes, everywhere. I mean, it was in my pediatrician's office, it was everywhere. You couldn't miss it in schools or whatever. So I think people from my generation certainly would relate to it and remember it. But the thing that made me choose the play is that I was a little bit tired of doing the older pieces, that I just needed a change. And this really fell into my lap in that I knew the book, I was familiar with it, loved it, but I had no idea that it was a play. And so when I started reading it, I thought, this is really interesting. I love that kind of vignette, all those vignettes that connect. One of my favorite writers of all time of plays is A.R. Gurney of The Dining Room, and people come in and out of different scenes and things like that. I love that. So when I read it, I thought, oh, this is just exactly what I need and what I'm looking for. So, and we have so many new things that are taking place in this. Brett Elliott, the executive director of the Kate, is designing the set for us. We have Doug McCurr, who is an amazing projections designer. We have Eric Davidson doing lights, Jacob Kaufman doing the sound. Our creative team is amazing. So I'm really excited. So it's a little bit different for our audience in that usually they're used to the old box sets, or not box sets, but sets that are living rooms or, kitchens, all, the whole workings of it. This is almost like a Saturday Night Live feel to it, with a bare, set with a platform, a couple of, maybe a window, abstract window and a door and stairs, but it is so much fun. Yeah. So much fun.
So bring your kindergarten imagination.
Right. Exactly. And there's music. We've never had music before. We have piano interlude music between the scenes, with an amazing pianist and musical director, Alan Doherty. That actually Autumn introduced me to. So it all comes back connection-wise.
You mentioned Brett Elliott, who I've had as a guest, who is the executive director of the Kate.
Yes.
Tell us, you're there twice a year at the Kate. Why did you choose the Kate to be your home for performing?
Well, I loved the Kate. When we moved up to Old Saybrook, they were just renovating the theater, and I got involved in the volunteer efforts for that, and the fundraising and things like that. And then I always wanted to start a theater group. It was something I had done. I mean, even at law school, believe it or not, I sang with the Boston Bar Association. People like, they're singing lawyers, So
it's like Legal Blonde.
And so I've always performed at every level, or tried to find it. Certainly, through college and high school, whatever. But so it was just, it seemed like the place to do it. If you're going to go and you're going to go for it, I thought this is it.
Yeah.
Autumn, you're in the play. Tell us how you found the Saybrook Stage Company.
Yeah, actually, it's like we almost found each other, really, because I had submitted for it on an actor's website called Actors Access, and right away, I got a phone call from Terry, and I was so excited. I'm like, people never call me. This is so exciting. Usually hunting them down. And I got to go audition for you and your husband, and it was just such a great vibe from the beginning. I mean, Terry had a really great direction of where she wanted it to go. She gives really great feedback, and in a way that it's easy to understand, not just like she's giving you verbatim what she wants to hear. It's like helping you get to the final picture of it. And she really has a great picture in mind for the whole play. So yeah, that's kind of how I found it. And weirdly enough, another person in the show I did shows with way back when, Brett.
Right.
Well, actually my mom did in Southington Community Theater. So it's like, it really is kind of the theater.
It's crazy.
It's a big world, and it just becomes smaller and smaller.
Right.
How does it feel being back on stage, being in a theater, not only a theater group, but being able to perform on stage?
Yeah, it feels honestly amazing. I haven't done a scripted production in so long. The last thing I did, I worked for 6 months on a cruise line as one of the entertainment, as the singers, and we were doing kind of books that they had written themselves. It was a German cruise line, so we were singing all kinds of things, but yeah,
really?
for 6 months, yeah.
That's great.
And it was really exciting, but you don't get that kind of acting thing that I fell in love with. You get to be somebody else. You get to put on somebody else's shoes and really fall in love with another character and their story. And that's what's so special about this story as well. Instead of that regular dialogue that theater brings, it's really telling the audience a personal story. I mean, it's not ours, of course, but we get to take that on, and that's really exciting.
I had a Broadway performer on as a guest who had performed also on a ship, two of them. What was it like performing on a ship?
It's wobbly. The route that we had taken actually is one of the most intricate in the world, from Norway to Iceland, and it is very interesting trying to perform while you're literally swaying back and forth. And we have aerialists hanging from their neck, and it's amazing. But it's breathtaking in a way that our theater was in the middle of the ship, so it's all surrounded by windows, and you're literally watching the world pass while you're performing. And I honestly got choked up a few times because I was like, this is the dream, doing what I love and seeing the world. I mean, you can't really ask for something better. So, and going through Norway with all the
it must have been wonderful.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, it was hard to come home, but also it's good to be back. On land.
I had a New York actor last week that also presents himself on Actors Access. Do you recommend using casting director technology websites to submit yourself, and would you use it? You've used it for this play. Is it something for an actor, for my actors that are out there to pursue?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great way to connect. I think it's probably one of the best ways to connect now, because you can certainly look for what you're looking for without wasting anyone's time. In other words, if there's somebody who is that is not quite with the characteristics you're looking for, that's perfectly fine. Your show might not be what they're looking for. So I think that's the best way to do it. And open auditions don't seem to call out as many people as it used to. So I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think especially after the pandemic, things became so virtual.
Right.
So now I'm auditioning for non-equity tours and national tours literally from the comfort of my own home, which is bizarre in a lot of ways because acting is so personal, but it saves them a lot of money, saves us a lot of hassle, because you used to have to wake up at 3 a.m., wait in long lines, and you risk the chance of not even being seen, which is honestly, it's heartbreaking. You really, really want something and it doesn't happen. So this expedites the process, and honestly, you're able to audition for a lot more than you were able to before.
Okay, let's hold that thought. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You are tuned into Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Community TV, your neighborhood TV.
Publicly funded and a reliable partner for cable companies nationwide. It provides transparent coverage of local and state government, education, and public programming.
A digital town green that can be watched anywhere, anytime, and on any device.
Watch us on today's high-tech distribution methods.
Community TV in Connecticut.
Local,
unfiltered,
reliable, and yours.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, thanks so much for being here. Well, we're highlighting the Saybrook Stage Company, which is based in Old Saybrook, Connecticut. And Terry, what we were talking about during the break is how special the Kate is to you. And if we can, I would like to be able to roll that tape. Let's say a thank you and a hello to the Kate and introduce it to the viewer, okay? Then we'll come back and talk about it.
Sounds good.
Okay, if we can roll that tape.
People often tell us how grateful they are that the Saybrook Stage Company is part of the Shoreline artistic community, and we're so happy to be a part of the Kate and to be able to produce live theater in such a beautiful venue in the perfect New England town. But Saybrook Stage Company has given us so many things in return over the last 12 years. The friendships we've made and the professional connections and opportunities that present themselves to us just keep growing every year. We may run the Saybrook Stage Company, but the success of it is the combined efforts and passions of countless talented, energetic people. There's the actors, of course, but the people behind the scenes also put in hours of work that make it all happen. There are directors, set designers, lighting designers, set builders, stage managers, costume designers, hair and makeup designers, prop masters, and stage crew. And the local support of businesses in the area like the Gainty Group, who willingly donate rehearsal and set building space, and the Westbrook Ambulance Association. It's a labor of love for all of us. It's not always easy, but the rewards are something I never could have imagined when we produced Our Town all those years ago. We're so grateful to Brett Elliott and all the people at the Cape for their constant support of all we do. Each time we move into the Cape to build a set for a new show, there is such a warm feeling of community. If you're an artist that's lucky enough to perform at the Cape, it doesn't matter where you're from. LA, New York, Chicago, Hartford, or right here in her own backyard. While you're there, you too feel as if the theater's your home. Here's to you, Kate. I hope we make you proud.
And hello and welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, and we just talked about the Kate. Terry, I know how much it means to you, and I know that we run that video every time you're here. Tell us what that means to you. Why did you create that?
I think as a theater group in a small town like this, you count on so many people to do so many different things, and no one is getting paid financially for what they are worth. And we have just run into so many people who have been so generous. We have the Westbrook Ambulance Association who's giving us our rehearsal space upstairs. We've had people, business owners in town allow us to build their sets there, and it's just amazing the people that are willing to come together for the creative effort. And it's just so much fun, and it's encouraging. It's a real community feel to it, that you're giving back something.
It's a very famous theater. Have you been in it, Autumn?
I actually haven't.
Oh, you haven't?
I haven't. I'm so excited.
How do you feel about being in the Kate and looking forward to performing there?
I feel very lucky. When I first told my mom I was auditioning here, she had said she had seen a show that Brett was actually in before at the Kate, and she was like, "It's gorgeous, and I love it there," and I felt very hoity-toity to be able to perform in it. And actually the other day I got to drive past it, and I was really taken aback. It's gorgeous. It's a really beautiful space. So I'm excited to actually see the inside of it if the outside is like that.
We should go there. The process. Now you are performing and rehearsing in space that isn't the Kate. Tell us what your process is when you go into the Kate. When do you go in to start setting up your show?
Well, we rent the Kate for a week. So our load-in day is for this show, July 9th. And then what we do is we build the set and have a tech that night, hopefully a walkthrough. And then we have a tech Monday night, our first dress Tuesday, second dress Wednesday, which is an invited dress for family and friends, and then we open Thursday. So it's kind of a wild and woolly week, certainly from that point on. But it's interesting. It's usually a fairly easy transition, from rehearsal space, wherever it might be, to the Kate. But it is, you have to get used to going upstairs, as opposed to going over a line of tape or something. So
this is stairs.
Right, exactly. So it might take a little bit longer than just stepping over tape.
Well, my mother and I will be coming to the show.
I'm so
Tell
excited.
us what the dates are.
All right, so the opening is July 13th, and it runs through the 16th of July. And there's 2 matinee performances, a Saturday matinee and a Sunday matinee. But there's, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night as well. So we're really looking forward to it, and it's a great way to get out, for the summer and have fun. I think the thing about this piece that is so exciting to me is that it's just so feel good, and it's just wonderful. At the end, you just, you walk out, feeling encouraged and happy. And Autumn has an amazing solo in it, as does Mark Gilchrist, who's been on this show before.
Been on the show, yeah.
So it's something new to us. We have, music is a little bit different, so it's really exciting.
And to the viewer who has never heard of your theater company, or who would like to know more about the show, they can go to the website. So why don't we talk about the website? What will the viewer find when they go there?
Sure. Well, on the website, there's all of our past productions as well as our current one, and there's also information about auditions, which we usually have a couple of months before each production runs. So we have basically pictures and things like that, information about all our past shows as well.
Have you found that having the website, are you able to see how many people are visiting it? Have you found that people are coming to the show?
Yes, I think as far as the social media aspect of it, I think Facebook is a big draw for us, and I think it's easier to see how many people are interested in talking about it, and people are so supportive on there, and it's just so much fun to see them excited about the next production coming along, because that's what we do it for, basically. We do it for them, and people are really so pleased to have the opportunity to have live theater, quality live theater right there.
To the actor that is watching us, which does happen because that's what we deal with, is arts and entertainment here, which is what the show's all about. Autumn, what is your advice to somebody who's just starting as an actor? How do they get started? What should they do?
Absolutely. I think getting started, you just want to find the best assets and tools that you can. So take those classes, spend the $25, go to Broadway Dance Center in New York, meet people, because that's how you get the ball rolling. It really is about who you know. You don't have to know the most famous people. Terry and I know each other now. That's a new connection that we have, and get yourself some lessons and just learn from people. I spent days just watching YouTube videos, learning like what other people are all about. And if you are interested in following it into college, maybe get those lessons as well, because it's so important. You can't do it without the background of that. But also get involved in a community theater, do a talent show, go on Facebook Live and sing and get feedback from your community as well.
And Terry, you are directing this play. What does somebody need to do to become a director? I know I have people that would like to do that too.
Yes, well, I think certainly Autumn has a degree in directing. I do not. I picked up directing, probably maybe about 5 or 6 years ago from this. It was something I always wanted to do. I think as an actor, you can see what you want being done, and you can kind of feel a piece.
Sure.
So I took the chance at it and really enjoy it. It's tough playing both roles of actor and director, but with a cast like this who's just amazing, I'm having a ball.
For the individual that's also thinking about starting their own theater company, how do you come up with the plays that you want to perform?
Well, we read a lot of plays.
Do you? I've heard that from other individuals from theaters. Yeah. They read a lot of plays. Is that true?
I do. Yes, I do read a lot of plays, and my husband and I kind of talk about the different choices that we can make. I think looking at what other groups have done, like out of state, kind of also gives you some good ideas. I have a number of people who run theater groups in different states and around like New England, and I ask how successful their productions of this and this was, and we share information. And I think that's important too, because if there's a piece that you're thinking of doing, I think it's important to get kind of a temperature read on how the audience reacted to that.
What were your thoughts when you heard about the title of this play? It's not something that is thrown out there. I mean, it isn't Gypsy, it isn't this, it isn't that. It's a title that probably a lot of people are unfamiliar with. How was it for you to even think about auditioning for?
Yeah, honestly, I submitted it because it was in Connecticut and I was so excited. And then when you had sent me the pieces, I was so drawn to them. They really are, like, it cuts the fourth wall completely. You are just having a conversation with the audience like they're your friend, like you're telling them this very intimate story. And I think that is like the best part of acting. Yeah. And it which I love the trope, the comedy, that's part of me as well, but this part is the deep gut stuff that is like just talking to your best friend, and I was so drawn to it and so excited about it. It's really beautiful piece, and even the comedic parts are like, wow, like that's just so touching. It really is. It's a touching story, and I think for any age group, it really is. It's a wonder.
Is there a certain genre that you like to audition for? Is it the ship? Is it the stage? Is it film? Is it television? What do you like to do?
Yeah, I think my mom would quote me on this too, because I will do anything. I obviously love to sing, and I'm a songwriter as well, but things that have this vulnerability to them, I'm very drawn to, because I think that's the most interesting thing. And I think when people go to the stage, they want to see that mirrored back at them. They want to see real people, even if it is hilarious or something. I mean, that's what life is all about. It's just reflecting our life. So, yeah, but I mean, I also love a good comedy. I do.
Right.
And Terry, I don't think that the audience will probably realize it, but your performers have day jobs. and then they come at night
Yes.
and audition maybe, or and rehearse.
Right.
Is that normal for theater, that it can be done that way instead of just showing up and, auditioning and performing all day long? They're juggling two things in a day.
Right. Well, I think for a private theater company like ours, I think that's the actors that we attract because we are in a small town here. But I think certainly if you're at the level of, an equity performer, that's when you have your full time. You sign in for like 2 weeks and then you rehearse and then the show goes up, kind of thing. But it works out great, for us. And it's interesting because I think it brings a lot of different perspectives to the piece. And what I've noticed, directing this and also being in it, is that, there's these times in these little vignettes where you actually see that person, in that situation talking to the audience. And it's really cool because I know a lot about the people that are in the show, and it's just kind of interesting to see their reactions to it. So it's really warm. It's wonderful.
How is it directing it and being in it as an actor? Can you juggle both?
Yes, I can, and
well.
I am. And it's interesting. It's fun, but I think when you have such a creative cast with you, they're flexible and they love that creative process. So they're willing to do things and change things up and kind of say, let's do this over here or whatever. And they come up with great ideas too. I think where many directors kind of, I don't want to say go wrong, but I think sometimes directors have this tunnel vision, so much so that they can't appreciate actors like giving them, some information and, this is how I feel. Great. If this is how you feel, let's incorporate that. And oftentimes with the director, it's just like, it's my way or the highway. Yeah. And that's not how I am. I'm not how I am as a person. I'm, much more of a, cooperative, type of soul anyway. So this is just me. So
okay. Well, I want to thank you both for being here. We've run out of time.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Congratulations, and I can't wait to go.
I know. That's great. We're looking forward to it.
And thanks so much for being here. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You've been tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. In case you'd like to email me and in case you'd like to volunteer in the show, I'd love to have you. You can contact me at artsandentertainment@mail.com. Well, I hope you have a super day. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.